Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview. My guest today is a writer and a producer. They have written season 5 to 7 on The Next Step, and today they're going to be coming on and telling us more about themselves, more about their career, and maybe some next step stories too. So today Karen will be joining me.
Hello, my name is Karen McClellan. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and I am speaking with Charlie Wheeler.
Thank you so much for coming, Karen. So today I've got 10 questions based on your writing and producing career. And my first question for you is, when did you first get into the writing and producing industries?
Okay, I will try to make this as concise as possible. I always wanted to be a writer from the time I was a child. And then I went through high school, wanted to write, direct, went off to university, did not study anything to do with film, or writing for that matter. And then during convocation, it was like the clouds open, the sky open, cue the angels, and I had this epiphany. This is the path that was meant for me to go into film and TV and writing. So fortunately, there's a robust industry in Toronto, and I went through a trade magazine and I called up every production listed in the back, volunteering myself to be an intern, work in the production office. And I think it was the 15th production that I called that said, sure, come work for free for us. And that was how I got my foot in the door. So I got experience that way. And I worked in production on various movie sets and TV shows for a couple of years, and then pursued writing. So I applied to various writing programs. I eventually went to grad school in the States, in LA, and then I returned to Canada for some family reasons. And then I went to the Canadian Film Centre here in Canada. So in LA, I went to the American Film Institute, did my master's in screenwriting, then came back to Canada and did the primetime television program at the Canadian Film Centre. Now, I say this to a lot of people. You do not have to go to any of these institutions to be a writer. It helps to learn, certainly from teachers, but the most important thing if you want to be a writer is to write. I just happened to pick that route and it worked for me. Shortly after the Film Center, I was hired onto a TV series as a script coordinator, which is one of the junior positions. And from there, I kept writing. I came up with my own scripts, my own samples, and then fortunately got hired onto different TV shows, and here I am many years later, having been lucky enough to carve out a career in the industry.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, it sounds like you've had an amazing career so far, and yeah, like you were saying, it's great that you did all of those qualifications and stuff, but I think you put a bit of advice in there too, saying as long as you're writing, you can be a writer, and I think that's some great advice, so thank you for sharing it.
Oh, my pleasure. And there's so many resources to any aspiring writers. There's so many resources online that really what you need is a great script as your calling card. That's what you need. And still to this day, I read pilot scripts, I read movie scripts, I break those down, I break them into scene by scene, what's happening to figure out the structure. Every writer that I know who's a working writer also does that. So those are things that people can do on their own without having to stress about getting into a writing program or going to school. You can pursue this passion without that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, again, yeah, you're giving some great advice. And I think lots of people, definitely people who want to get into writing, I think it's always important to know, like, you don't have to do everything like you kind of see on the news. Like, people have done these qualifications and that. I think as long as you can get a bit of paper and write something, that can make you a writer, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question is about the next step, and it is, where did the idea of Dance Mania come from when you were writing the next step season 7?
Well, Rachel and I, we were knocking around ideas. We knew that we wanted to do something fresh for season 7, that we wanted to avoid falling into predictable, regionals, nationals, internationals. And season 5 had been qualifications for regionals. Season 6 had been regionals. And we thought about, what dancers go off to do. A lot of dancers will go off to do these dance competitions. And we thought that would be an exciting thing to explore for A Troop, to make that, to put them in a position where they had to choose between nationals and being amateurs, or going off to do this dance competition with all the fame and exposure and what that would mean for them.
Well, obviously Dance Mania was spectacular with all of the lights and all of the dances. And yeah, I think the storyline of Dance Mania kind of it changed it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we enjoyed it. We were so thrilled with the results and the production value, and it was very exciting.
Yeah, 100%. What is the best part about writing for the next step?
Oh, you know what? I can't choose one part. I hate to sound politic here, but honestly, from beginning to end, I love all of it. I love when we have all of our writers in the room and we start the development process of figuring out what the season's going to look like. I love just being in a room with everyone 5 days a week, spitballing ideas, breaking the stories, rewriting, writing, excuse me. And then I love when we go into production, like each phase of the show, I love. I can't pick a favorite. So production, we're still doing a lot of writing. Rachel and I are on set with the director and another one of our writers, Jan Caruana, who is an improv goddess. And we work closely with the writers who are still in the room. And we continue to write throughout production, even rewriting while we're shooting. And then I love when we're in post, because we get to spend all that time with the footage. And that is also part of the writing, because there's a lot of times when we're tweaking and we don't do a lot of rewriting in post, but it has happened where we've had to like rejig some of the episodes, and that continues to be fun. So I love all of it, to be honest, all of it.
Yeah, it's great that you love all of it, and it sounds like each section of filming and creating the next step has its kind of own speciality with the writers, and I think that's really great that you're involved in every step of it.
Yeah, definitely at the beginning, there's a lot of blue sky. There's a lot of blue sky in those first early weeks when we think of, oh, it would be great to do this, and oh, wouldn't it be amazing if we did that? And I say blue sky because blue sky is the limit, but then you go into production and you have some realities of budget and all of those concerns, and you have to, dial back your vision from what, but remarkably, I would have to say, Rachel and I, we shoot for the stars, and because we have such a great cast and crew, we usually get what we want. Like, we had to wait a couple of years to do the Christmas special. We had wanted to do a Christmas special from the time we started working together in season 5. But yeah, no, we've been really fortunate. We usually, yeah. So long answer, short answer, I love all of it.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's great, obviously, that you get to do most of the storylines that you create. And I think it must be just so nice kind of watching the show and be like, I wrote that.
It's really satisfying. It's so satisfying to be a part of the whole process. And I burst with pride. My father always, he's like, oh, pride comes before a fall. So just say you're pleased with it, anything. So I'm very pleased. I'm super pleased, and I get really excited to see what the fans think, and if they love the same stuff that we, behind everyone behind the next step has enjoyed putting out. So yeah, it's truly satisfying.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have any advice to people who want to get into writing and producing?
My advice is to do it. If you want to get into writing and producing, my advice is to do it. So for writing, it means write. It means study the genre that you want to write. So if you want to write TV, study TV, read all the scripts that you can get your hands on. If it's movies, I'm one of those people who I like to read the scripts. I like to break them down. I like to see how they move and look at what's happening in every act, every scene, how things change, how the story moves, how the characters develop. And then for producing, I think it's the same. Both, producing and writing, especially for TV, you need to cultivate a team of people around you in order to do it. But the remarkable thing is we've got iPhones. So anybody with an idea, grab your friends, get out there, and the producer is the person who puts it all together. So if you want to produce, I say, find people who want to tell the stories that you want to tell, find the directors that you want to work with. Maybe you'll have to wear a couple of hats when you first start out, and put together your own little movie shoots at the beginning. Even play with stop motion. There's some great stop motion apps. But as you move on, something that I did when I graduated from university and I started working in the industry, I worked for a lot of producers. So I saw up close their processes, what it took to produce something. In Canada, a lot of producers, there's different funding agencies. That's a whole other, specialty really, is finding the money in order to make the thing that you want to make. And then there's creative producing. But I think what everyone has in common in this industry is understanding story. So anybody who's looking to produce or write, learn about story, and then go out there, meet people. There's all sorts of meetups. There's different, if you want to go to school, there's different productions. There's different schools for production. But I think there's different associations too. So you can find like-minded people, find your tribe, and then just do it is my best advice.
Yeah, 100%. That's some great advice again. And I think people can definitely take something from it. And I agree. As long as you go and try your hardest and do something, then you're most likely to succeed, because you're not going to know if you don't do anything, are you? So
exactly. And I would also say too, if I may add one more thing, it's that writing, producing, directing, any path in this industry, it's really it's a marathon. And it sounds cliche and it can be disheartening because some people make it really fast. Some people luck into a part, or they luck into a job, or and others are working much longer at it. But it's really persistence and drive and passion. And when people say, oh, it takes a lot of passion to have a career in this, it's because you can have doors slammed in your face, but don't give up. Yeah, when I was at grad school, if I can just do a little sidebar, when I was at grad school, I don't think I was the most talented writer in my class. I still, looking back, would say I was not the most talented writer in my class. There were far more talented writers. But I'm one of the few from my graduating class that has a career. And I think, there's different factors in all of that. But I know for some of those writers that were very talented, they were just so hard on themselves that they gave up. They didn't want to put out their work. Just put it out there. If you have a story to tell, just put it out there. And if it doesn't fly the first time, okay, back to the drawing board. Because that is part of the job, is writing, rewriting, going back to the drawing board. Rachel and I go through that every season on The Next Step. We're always You know, we get notes and we have to rewrite and put it out again, and that is part of the job. So that's a skill in itself to hone. That's all I want to say. I just want to make sure any aspiring writers or producers out there understand that it's a long game.
100%, and that's more great advice, yeah. So my next question for you is, when you write characters out of the next step, for example, Michelle's leaving party, do you get emotional writing them out?
Yes. Yes. It was very bittersweet for Michelle leaving. You know, she's so special. Vic is just lovely. And I would say it's hard writing any of our characters off. With Michelle, with the Goodbye Girl episode, we did know that we had plans to bring her back later in the season for a couple of episodes. So when we were filming that one, it wasn't as hard because I knew I would see her again. But certainly it's, you know, especially a character like her who has been on since the very beginning, you know, is tough. I would, yeah, it was hard. And, you know, something that we always tell characters or our cast, if anyone is leaving the show, you know, there's always a way to come back to the next step. We you know, it's a very, very special show. And I've worked on a lot of TV shows, and I can say there's something really unique and singular about the next step. And I think that was one of the wonderful things about the Christmas specials, that we had a way to bring back a lot of the original cast and continue to work with them. And that's an example of how there are goodbyes, but hopefully it's more of a see you later. And that's how we felt with, well, that's how I felt. I'll speak for myself. That's how I felt with Michelle. It was bittersweet to say goodbye, but I'm always hopeful that there's always an opportunity to see her again on the next step. And I felt that way too with Noah Miles when he left at the end of season 6. I was very emotional with that one too. With all of them, but you know, he had a very emotional storyline in season 6, so that always tugged at my heart.
I agree. There's always a way for them to come back. So, like, you never know, like, Michelle could come back again. And then, like, because obviously Michelle and Emily are on this tour, so maybe they'll come to a city near the next step or something. So there's always ways to bring them back.
Yep, fingers crossed.
So my next question for you is, what has been your favourite storyline to write for the next step?
Oh, my favorite storyline to write for the next step. It's so hard to pick one. I'll tell you, the Lily Kingston relationship was a lot of fun. We had so much fun with that in season 7. It just and Katie and Noah are so great at with those roles, with playing up the humor. I also loved when Rochelle was down on her luck in season 7, and the bros have to pick her up in episode 15. And I enjoyed that whole storyline of Rochelle's journey through Dance Mania. I really liked that. I liked what it was doing for all of the characters. I don't know. It's you know, it's so hard. It's so hard. And I've only been on the show for 3 seasons. I mean, if we go back to season 5, you know, I loved the war between TNS East and TNS West. Season 6, I loved the surprise of Rochelle. I thought that was always so much fun. I liked Noah's whole trajectory in season 6. It's so hard. It's so hard. It's really tough to pick one favorite storyline.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many, like you were saying, there's so many different storylines I think are special to so many different people. So, like, obviously, like you were saying about Rochelle's one at Dance Mania, like, it did impact all of A Troop, and I think major storylines are great, but also the small ones as well. I think all the storylines are they definitely draw you in, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. And each one, brings something to the table. Like, I really enjoyed Lola and Rochelle developing a friendship in season 5. I really loved, Jackie and Davis and Kenzie figuring out their friendship and the sister rivalry in season 6. I thought that was really fun. I love anytime you get the bros together, anytime you get Ozzy and Finn and Henry and Kingston together. That's fun. Piper and Finn and their romance. Oh my goodness. I mean, there's it's like going to a buffet of awesomeness. I can't pick one dish. I can't pick one storyline.
Yeah, I don't think the fans could pick like one favorite storyline either, to be honest. So yeah, there's just so many different amazing ones. But my next question actually isn't about the next step. It's about the other things you've done, and it is, as well as writing and producing for the next step, you've also produced and written other things such as The Other Kingdom. Is that right? Yeah, The Other Kingdom, yeah. And Totally Amped. What was that like?
Oh, both were amazing experiences. The Other Kingdom was a blast to work on. It was 20 episodes, one season. Sadly, we didn't get more than one season. And it was so much fun. I mean, it's a fairy who wants to have a high school experience. So it's your traditional fish out of water story, but told a little differently. And the cast was, they were a delight to work with. The storytelling was so much fun. Tom Lynch, Max Burnett, Jan Caruana, Dan Dillabow, and Skander Halim, they were all fantastic writers to work with. And, it's just different. It was a different experience because it's a different type of filming. It was single camera versus the multi-camera that we have with the next step. A lot of special effects. So from a producing point of view, that was a lot of fun to tackle those challenges. And then with Totally Amped, I mean, it was fun. I guess you could say I really enjoy working the teen world and living out those stories.
They sound like they were amazing experiences, and it's great that, obviously, because the next step's such a big thing, but then it's great, obviously, to go out and do other things too, so that's really good. What is it like working with the cast of the next step? Because from season 5 to season 7, like, the cast has changed.
They have. I mean, they're all amazing. They're all fantastic individuals, and it's really been gratifying to watch them grow up. I remember the first casting session in season 5 and finding some of those new faces, and then meeting some of the cast that would be returning from season 4. And then just watching all of them grow in their dancing, grow in their acting, grow as people in front of the camera, but also get to hear what they're up to behind the camera and how they're maturing into these fantastic adults. It's a privilege. And I don't say that lightly. I know that might sound a little cheesy, but it really is a privilege. And when you're working with people who inspire you, it just makes everything much more meaningful. The job that I'm doing, the work that I put out there, and like I remember the first time I saw a group dance in season 5, and it was the weekend, and the cast, they were rehearsing their big dance for, I think it was for the mid-season point, and they were dancing to Stand Up, and I got very emotional. I got really, really emotional. I ended up crying. I'm a bit of a softie. I am definitely a softie, and I tear up easily. And they got me in here, and I just feel a lot of inspiration from working with all of them. And not just the dancers, but also, like, I really enjoy Kelly Fanson, who plays Miss Angela, and of course Miles, who's Nick, and like they're all great people.
Yeah, it sounds like working with the cast is so fantastic, and it just sounds like I was looking to some of the cast, and every single one said like the cast and the crew are just like a massive family, and they really do sound like a proper family.
They really are, and there's I miss it, and they are a family, and I remember again joining the show in season 5. I felt very welcomed, and that was important. That was a great thing, to be welcomed into that family and embraced. And it truly has been one of the most satisfying, gratifying experiences of my life. So yeah, I love it. I miss everyone. Please let this pandemic end soon. I can't. Oh, I miss everybody.
Yeah, fingers crossed everybody can see each other soon and the cast can be reunited. So my next question is, if there is a season 8, do you have any ideas for storylines, if you're allowed to share anything?
Rachel and I do have some ideas. We do. We have a couple of ideas kicking around. I don't think we can really share them. Again, we have our blue sky ideas, and we like asking ourselves questions like, what would be really fun for all of the cast, and where do we think they would be at this point? But yeah, we have some fun ideas. Sorry, we have some fun ideas, but I'm sorry, I wish I could tease more what they are.
It's okay, we don't want to get anybody in trouble. Yeah, we'll wait. Fingers crossed with season 8, and yeah, it'll be great to see another season. So I have one more question for you, and it is, are there any storylines that didn't make it onto the next step or onto TV that you're allowed to share with us?
Any storylines that didn't make it onto TV that... we always have fun ideas that we wish we could pursue. And things get cut just because there's not enough time to shoot everything. There's, it just doesn't fit. Sometimes things die in the edit suite because we can't squish them all in there. There were a few of those that fortunately got repurposed, like Winnie's whole tap dancing, her quest to be the dance captain for that day. It wasn't her quest. She was made dance captain for a day. And then sometimes, we have a story that we'd like to pursue with our cast, and it just doesn't always fly for whatever reason. And then we end up trying to repurpose it. Like for several years, we had the Christmas idea. Oh my goodness, the Christmas idea. Okay, we can start my answer with this. So for the Christmas special, which we shot during season 7, we actually wrote 2 Christmas specials. So we wrote It's a Wonderful Life Piper, the 2-part special, but we have another one. We have another 2-part Christmas special that, without boring you with all the details, or anybody listening to this with all the details, there are a lot of moving parts when you're in production. And we weren't sure if everything was going to come together for It's a Wonderful Life Piper. So we came up with this alternate Christmas special that, honestly, if we get another season, it would be so much fun to shoot this new Christmas special, just to keep it fresh. Christmas is great. Why not have two specials? So that was something that we're like, oh, if we ever go back into production, or when we go back into production, I'm not saying it's going to happen. That's me being hopeful about the future. It would be so much fun. So there's a fantastic Christmas special that we never got to shoot. And there's ideas like that through the season. Like, we came up with a Halloween idea that we just didn't have room in the schedule for, there's stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there sounds like there's been some great storylines that obviously, like, you have to create so many and not all of them get included. But again, with the Christmas special, it sounds so exciting. Maybe we'll get another Christmas one, because I know the Christmas special was just so exciting because they'd never done anything like that before. So fingers crossed for another one.
Yeah, really and truly. And oh yeah, like every season, there's stuff that we'd love to put in there. That was the fun thing about doing the webisodes, is that we were able to have a little bit of fun. Sometimes the cast will come to us and say, oh, wouldn't it be neat? Like, for instance, Sage thought it would be a lot of fun if she could play the opposite to Summer, because Summer's such a lovely character, and Sage is lovely in person too. But that was the fun thing about the What If webisodes, is that we could have a little bit of fun with Summer's character, like in an alternate universe. What would it be like if she were not so sweet? So it's fun to have those opportunities to kind of turn things on their heads.
Yeah, I think it was great when Summer was kind of evil, because it was a bit of a side we never saw coming. And I think the what if was good, because obviously if it's in an alternate universe, you can kind of do anything with it because it's not necessarily going to happen.
Exactly. And we did have fun with the whole no shell. We're aware. We've been aware for a long time. We know there's a strong fan base out there that wanted to see Noah and Rochelle get together. And, Miles and Briar are just so lovely in person. It was fun to play with that with What If.
Yeah, I thought the What If was great as well. And it's good how basically you kind of use lockdown to your advantage, because you had the Dance Mania podcast, and then you also had the What If as well. So you kind of used it to your advantage, which is amazing.
Oh, thank you. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot of fun, and yeah, you're most welcome. We have came to the end of the interview now, and it's been great finding out more about yourself and your career and the next step and everything, so thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's been a real privilege. Thanks for inviting me to do this. I've really enjoyed our time together.
You're most welcome, and yeah, thank you so much. And also thank you to everybody who watched this video. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and I'll see you next week for another one. Bye, guys!